Welcome back, everyone. So, to put things as simply as I possibly can, if we look over down here to our power management MFD, we'll notice that we have what I like to call Lego blocks. These little Lego blocks tell us how much power is being put into each system. Each icon tells us what exactly those things are. For example, the two wheels are coolers, comms or radar, life support, our quantum drives when we go into quantum mode, our shields as the shield, engines as the arrows, and weapons as the guns. When we don't have power allocated, it ends up here in what's known as output. When something is in output, it means that it is not currently being used, which means it's not having any effect on your ship, but it's also not building heat. In the current state of the game right now, there's something very important that everyone needs to understand. Power or resource networks are not in StarCitizen right now. All we have is a rudimentary power system that is slightly different than what we had previously, with new MFDs to dictate where we place our power systems. This, by all stretch of the imagination, is very far from the finished product of power management. However, it is significantly different enough that I think I should take some time to explain it to everybody so everyone is on the same page. First, we're going to access our power management MFD, and we're going to put power into systems that we want. One thing to note is that the power systems that you're charging up have an efficiency rating. For example, if I place one Lego block in my engines, I have 20%, for example. It could be different depending on the ship, but essentially that power block is 20% of the overall power that I can get. This does not affect my top speed or my acceleration. It only affects how much boost I can use, how fast it depletes, and how fast it recharges. So if I place 2 power blocks and engines, I'm increasing by 20% by this one, 18% by the next one, 15% by the next one, 10% by the next one, 5% by the last one. Power management works on a non-linear curve, which means if I put more power into a system, it becomes less efficient the more power gets put into the system. What that means is if you want the most bang for your buck, it's typically best to have your systems in what's known as, well, I guess you could call it balanced power settings. It means that you're getting the most power out of all your systems with the least amount of blocks put into them. However, the person that puts more power into their weapons will obviously get more weapons. When putting power into systems, you always have to think to yourself, what's the best bang for my buck? So the idea here is you don't want to put all your power into one system unless you need it for something very specific. It's better just to keep it a little bit relatively balanced and keep yourself functioning with everything except for maybe the last 2 blocks, because the efficiency just goes down. It's not a tremendous amount. The numbers I'm throwing out may not be sufficient. However, the last pip here is always going to give you slightly less than the first pip here. As we move down here, we'll notice that we have our coolers. Typically what I've found is removing power from your coolers actually allows you to free up so much more space for other systems. I have yet to this day had any heating issues with the game or with any ship, even draining power to my coolers to 1. Whatever the case may be, the current balancing and tuning of power management means that you can suck out most of the power from your coolers and still put it into weapon systems, shields, and engines. I would personally suggest putting as much power as you can into other systems like shields, weapons, and engines, and out of your coolers. I would only put power into coolers if at some point during the fight or later you're running into heating issues. But it seems like there are no heating issues at the moment. Good. Now that you've understand the basics of the Lego bricks and the power technology, you need to set these settings before you go into a fight. If you go into a fight and you're looking down at your MFD, trying to fiddle with your Lego blocks, you have failed to prepare for the fight. It's my suggestion that you pull power from your coolers and put it into your weapons and shield systems. If you're in a large vessel like a Corsair, I would highly suggest, and I mean highly suggest, that you put the majority of your powers in engines or shields and not your weapons. Weapons will still recharge. You don't need all your power in weapons. What you need is as much time as you can to decide what to do with your shields up. That being said, understand that with the shield system, with your shield MFD, you can take a look at all the stats of your shields, your right, left, rear, and front shields, and access the distribution of those shields effectively from the cockpit. Personally, I like doing this on a hotkey if I really and absolutely need to change my shield settings. But if I were you, and if I was in a Corsair and I was facing a single opponent, I would drain the majority of my shields to my front shields and maintain sight picture with only a little bit covering my left, right, and rear. If you're in a gang where multiple shooters are engaging you, it is highly suggested that you use all-around shielding because threats can come from any direction. I shouldn't need to reiterate this, but I have seen so many pilots out there in the universe switch their shield faces to the wrong shield face when multiple opponents are attacking. It makes all the difference. Understand too that when you apply shield pressure to one side or the other, it takes time for those shields to transfer from one side to the next. It doesn't happen instantly, as you can see here. So before you make a choice, make sure you prepare, and I say again, prepare for the fight before the fight begins. If you're switching shields, switching power, and managing during the fight, you have already lost. Good. Now we understand the basics of the power system we have currently right now in 323. We can go a little bit more into detail as to how this is going to affect you moving forward. Since the recent patch, some ships have changed, notably some of the multi-crew ships, including the Corsair and the Redeemer. So I decided to put both these ships to the test, with full crews on both ships. With the new power systems we have now, the real question comes down to how are these ships performing now, and which ship's coming on top if you put them both together. Just gonna keep in front. Many turrets don't have an arc.
Yeah, you gotta back up some.
Yep. There we go.
Yep, good.
Front shields have almost failed. We've almost got them, guys. Just keep shooting. There it is. Full backstrafe for the victory. Both ships were using military coolers, power plants, and shields to keep it even between components across both ships. Both ships as well were only using a Minsky sized 4 and 3 weapons, which again, to keep it equal between both ships. The differences we saw here were that obviously in an engagement with multi-crew ships, there's not a lot of movement going on. There's not a lot of position, and not a lot of pushing. So it really just turns into two ships facing towards each other and slugging it out. In this case, though, the Redeemer didn't put its shields double front, and it paid the price for it. However, our ship, in the Corsair, did put its shields double front. You can see that MFD in the bottom right-hand corner here. What's important to note is that the Corsair's out front damage is higher than the Redeemer. However, it requires the pilot to produce most of that shot time on target. This can be mitigated if you play the Redeemer like this in round 2. I'm going to try and get under him here. Okay, get ready. Okay, I've got to lead turn him again.
Yeah, reloading.
Yeah, I'm gonna lead turn him again. Come on, baby, come on. Here we go. Just get out of his main. Here, we're just gonna back off here.
Jesus Christ. You have powered weapons?
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving you all I got. I need the rest for engines. Okay, I'm gonna run him, push him. Right underneath them. Come on, baby. I used the last of my boost. Here, we got through shields, and we have front shields. So we've got the initiative here. Come on, baby. Just keep shooting.
Yeah, if I had...
Hey, there it
Good
is.
kill.
Yeah, a couple times we got the rate limit on him. Without having its two size 5 guns on the turrets, the Redeemers can no longer face tank or trade the DPS potential of something like a Corsair. The only option you have in the Redeemer is to cut the rate, which means get close enough that the turn rate of the Corsair is less than yours, which means you have to get the distance. In this situation like this, we're mitigating the damage that the pilot is going to do to us from the Corsair, which means we're reducing effectively the majority of his frontal firepower, which is all his size 4 guns. His turrets will always be able to articulate and hit us, but those turrets are doing an anemic amount of damage compared to the majority of his size 4 guns that are forward-facing weapon systems. If you can manage the flights in the Redeemer, you still have a very capable chance of killing crewed Corsairs. However, in my personal opinion, the level of skill that the general public has on a daily basis means that the Corsair most likely will finish and kill the majority of fights it takes against other multi-crew ships, simply because you can pin the backstrafe, double front your shields, and just slug it away. If you want the most bang for your buck, a 2-person Corsair is the best it can give you. I would also suggest that you always run with a full crew on any multi-crew ship. However, multi-crew, as we all know, is in kind of a tough spot. Even though this battle between 2 fully crewed ships looks epic and can be considered, I guess you could say, part of the design process, a single fighter of almost any type could easily kill both the Corsair and the Redeemer. And so one day, we'll have multi-crew ships in a place that feels good, but until then, understand that you are food for the fighters. However, it doesn't mean that you can't have fun and you can't learn. And hopefully one day, multi-crew ships will be in a fighting spot in a good way that feels exciting. Remember, folks, we stream every day at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time from 2 to 6. We'd love to see you there for some fun and shenanigans. Bring your beers, whatever you want to do. Let's just have a good time. If you have any questions, feel free to join us on Discord. Avenger Squadron is recruiting. We're not looking for just pilots or Marines. We are now opening a separate division within AVS called the Fleet Division. The Fleet Division will take care of logistics, command and control, as well as all multi-crew functionality as the game continues. If this is something that you're interested in and you'd like to join a high-performance team, please consider stopping by our Discord and looking at the joining instructions. The future of StarCitizen is bright, and I'd like to share it with you. My name is Avenger 1, and I'll see you next time.